Good morning and welcome to day 16. This is our last day of flowers, so I hope you're all caught up as we will be starting with stems tomorrow. We will be working with a little columbine today using a whipped woven circle, pistil stitch and detached chain. But first let me introduce you to Razzle and Dazzle. So these are the beautiful colors, or a few of them, of Razzle and Dazzle. Now, when I first found Razzle and Dazzle, I was taken with it because it was more like a size 8 weight thread. And originally it came in very, very large spools for machine work. I worked with a little and then decided it would be a lovely thread for us to introduce to the hand embroidery. We designed a line of 90 different spools of colors. So we have lots of solids, some variegated ones, which are Razzle, and then Dazzle, we have quite a few of those as well. So the difference between Razzle and Dazzle is Razzle is 100% rayon. So it's a rayon thread, it has a beautiful sheen, it's very soft to work with, but it does have a little bit more bounce than cotton thread. And then Dazzle has one strand of metallic, and that's what I really liked about it, because the metallic is sort of subtle. It's not 100% metallic. So it just gives a nice little glisten or texture to wool work. What I found with metallic threads, if they were all metallic, is that they are a bit gritty to work with, and so it would catch on the wool, whereas the Dazzle is much smoother and glides through the wool better. So being a bouncier thread, what I do is I either wet my fingers or use thread magic, and I run it down the thread a couple of times, and what happens is it relaxes the thread so it's a little easier to work with, which is really nice. And you still have to hold it a little bit more firmly than you would a cotton thread, just because of the nature of the thread. Another thing is that when you open a spool of Razzle or Dazzle, I think it's very important to use a thread guard on it. So these are thread guards. They come in little packs of 10, and they just peel off this paper, and you wrap them around the spool. So here you can see it. The way I do it is I wrap it so that I have a little tail that is out of the spool like this, and wrap it really tightly, and it's like cling wrap, so it just clings to itself. And then I just pull out the thread like this, cut it and leave a tail, and I just keep doing that until the wrap gets too loose, and then I tighten it up. So I don't take the wrap off every time I use it. I just take the thread out. But you can see what I mean about it being a little bit more of a bouncy thread. So by running your fingers, wet or dry, you can see what happens to the thread. It starts to relax, and it's a little easier to work with when you do that. Here is a sampler that I have that's all done in Razzle and Dazzle. So you can see it has a beautiful sheen to it. Often things stand up a little bit more with it. I always say that trellis stitches are a little bit more corded, looking like buttons. So you can see how it adds to, in combination with your pearl cottons, it adds a nice different texture to your work. So these are the little columbine flowers right here, and I wanted some flowers to fill in the bottom of my little wildflower garden. So I think I did about 5 of them all the way along the bottom, and I used a 5-spoke. So I used the 5-spoke on the 3/4 inch mark. So like right here, so I just marked the 5-spoke. And then mark the center so you can see it's like that. So the first thing I did was I made my spokes, and I used a size 3, and I did a whipped woven, and I wove the whole thing like that. And then I came back and did three stitches. So using silk and ivory, I did a pistil stitch in the center of each of these whipped wovens like that. Then I came and did a little detached chain, and I did that in Dazzle so that I had a bright orange little accent here, and I just did a little detached chain around each of these French knots. And then with Razzle I came back and did a long detached chain on either side of that like that. So it's a really fun one to add different colors, so it gave it a pop, so it looked really different. So you don't see as much of the whipped woven circle, but what you do see are the ridges from the whipped woven in between each of these, which I think adds a nice little texture and makes the flower quite dimensional. So I did quite a few of them along the bottom, and then I did another little bonus flower here. So what I did was I took my 3/4 inch circle and I made a 3/4 inch mark, and I filled it with French knots, but I used some of my threads from my previous flowers. This is a size 3 in the yellow, and the rest of it's all in size 5, and I just made these little round French knot flowers, a few of them along the bottom as well. So that is the end of the flowers. We now should have a piece that is full of blooms, and it is now will be time for us to start thinking about the leaves and the stems. So tomorrow that'll be the start of connecting our flowers to the ground.